Hi, everyone. Welcome. Hello. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome.
Just give us a few more minutes and we will get the show on the road. I think we've got some folks popping in. This is great. Okay, very good. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome. So glad you could join us today to a really powerful session that we're looking forward to being able to provide to you. My name is Janine Gomez. I'm actually the director of business development and sponsorships for our ATD Central Florida chapter. So again, we thank each and every one of you. I also have my colleague, our president, Zizo Aku, who is also, you want to say a quick few words, Zizo?
Yes, welcome everyone to today's session. We're super excited to have core strengths today. So you're welcome. And, I know we're on time, so I'll go ahead and mute myself. But yeah, welcome. We're excited to have you.
Thank you, Zizo. So it's with such great pride to be able to welcome both Michael Brown and Kyle Medic, who are our master facilitators for Core Strength and wonderful partners. They're going to be providing a session today for each and every one of you. And, we do ask, that you, in terms of just quick housekeeping notes, in the world of multitasking, if you can kindly, put yourselves on mute. And what we will most likely do is save any questions until the very end. I do want to basically share a little bit about, ATD, though, very briefly, just to kind of top line it. For those of you that are currently members, we thank you for your membership. For those that are exploring membership, we always welcome membership. You'll see on the screen right now that, we do have different types of membership, and we are actually preparing for our WILD conference, which is our weekend in learning and development that we're going to be hosting virtually October the 5th through the 8th. For any questions that you guys might have, please never hesitate to reach out to one of our board members. These are our president, myself, or any of the board. We do have a tremendous focus, within 2021 and going into 2022 in terms of making sure that, collectively, we are a learning and development group, and we want to be able to share that with each and every one of you. Your membership makes us that much more powerful and enables us to be able to deliver such vibrant sessions as the one that you're going to experience in just a few moments. On our Master Association of Talent Development, the mothership, you will actually, be able to see this image that you see in front of you, how we are so focused on trying to build a high impact learning organization using what we call the ATD capability model. And we definitely want you to encourage you to all of you guys out there, share this with your teams as we work very closely with our National Association of Talent Development. So I think without further ado, I would love to transition over to Michael and Kyle, and if you could share a little bit about each of you relative to where you're located and how you got involved, with Core Strengths before we started.
No, that sounds great. I'm Michael Brown, and with me is Kyle Menig. I am coming to you from the great office shed of Fayetteville, Arkansas, the northwest corner of the state of Arkansas, home of Walmart and Sam's Club and all of those organizations we buy bread and water from on the weekends. And with that, so I've been with Core Strengths for using the Core Strengths tool for, I think, 7 or 8 years now. And it's one of the, you asked the question, how did I come to know them? And it was through a mutual friend who said, you really need to check out this assessment. It aligns with your values. It aligns with relationships and how you speak to that. And since then, it's an honor to be able to work with them in this capacity as a master facilitator. It's really about helping people not only become self-aware and aware of others, but truly just to become better people. I like how Kyle says it. Kyle, what's your tagline? Better humans.
I just like to help people be better humans. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love it. And it's for me, it's that with just when we do that, we love our life at work. And if we love our life at work, we probably have a better chance of loving our life after work at home. And I've got 4 kids, been married for like 20 years, almost 18, feels like 20. And so that's why I do what I do, to help people really live out their strengths, to not only love their life, dominate at work, but love it after work as well. And so this concept of relationship intelligence plays right into that. I'll let Kyle give a minute to introduce himself, and then we'll rock and roll.
Yeah, that sounds good. Obviously, everyone, you can see this is my power look away shot on this picture. Just kidding. Don't let it intimidate you, Scott. Just kidding. But I'm located in San Diego, California area. Similar to Michael, I think I've been connected with the tool about 7 years. So my first experience similarly was a mutual friend who said, I think you'd enjoy this assessment. I had never even heard of it. So I went to a workshop, and throughout the experience, just kept thinking as I was hearing new things, that, oh man, this information would have helped me 6 months ago, or this would have helped me 5 years ago, or last week. And every time I was learning something different about how to have better conversations, how to collaborate differently, how to navigate conflict. And all of it seems so, important, but also effective. And to Michael's point, it wasn't just thinking of myself at work, but how I could improve relationships, even with friends and family. And so it really kind of struck me, and I started using it more and more. Now I've been involved usually, 20 years in nonprofit work, the last 6 working with a lot of great organizations. But I know Michael and I both appreciate these connections and times with ATD, because how did I get muted? I always enjoy helping people be better humans, but you're all invested in that too. And so it always is kind of a special time to really connect with people, right, that are helping people kind of live unstuck, if you will, and take new steps to be effective in leadership and increase their influence. So thanks again for having us. Really do appreciate it. And we do want to highlight, I know Michael's going to be kind of tracking it down. Part of the opportunity in terms of this webinar is actually being able to take the assessment that we're talking about. And so we're going to be sharing a link so that you can experience and have what I'll describe as your own account on Core Strengths, so that you can increase your fluency in what we're going to describe shortly as relationship intelligence. So I know Michael's going to track that down, and we'll share that at some point in the chat, just so you all know.
We've got to wait.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah.
Well, let's do this.
Let's do it.
Well, we're not going to share the link just yet because
we don't want distraction.
With us.
Yeah.
And then you'll click it, you'll get excited, then you'll get frustrated because some of the questions are hard, and then you'll realize you missed out on Kyle's good stories. And so we'll share it with you halfway through in 17 and a half minutes. That's a little less than half. I made that up. Don't get upset, Scott. And so we're going to rock and roll. What are we going to discuss today? Well, it's pretty simple, but not. The top 3 things: how to build and nurture relationships by increasing your skills in relationship intelligence. In just a minute, we'll talk about relationship intelligence and define that, but you will really talk about, and you'll start to see as we unpack it, how to truly nurture and build healthier, more effective relationships. The second one is how to improve the content of conversations to reduce conflict. If you've ever had a conflictive conversation, ever had one of those moments where you're like, I wish that would have gone better, we hope to give you some very practical tools, tangible tools, as well as a mindset in terms of how to improve those conflictive conversations, so it's less conflict and more just productive problem solving. And then number 3, tips to help you use your strengths to solve unforeseen challenges, boost collaboration, and drive results. Really how to help you start to understand, okay, here's what I typically do, but what strengths can I bring up in different moments, kind of master that moment with the person that we have the opportunity to work with and serve as leaders. And so that's what we're going to discuss today. Pretty simple concepts as we unpack relationship intelligence this morning for you all, or during your lunch break. So as we're navigating the day, there might be times that you have questions that you want to pop it in. And so we want to interact a little bit. So feel free to use the chat box to ask a question. If there's something pressing and you're just, hey, I need to know more about, and you don't want to wait, you just can't wait, just go ahead and take your mic off mute, and you can ask a question throughout so that we're dialoguing and make sure we're processing. And then at the end, we'll have a larger, robust Q&A. But feel free to interact and respond throughout the session as well. Just if you have a question or a comment, we value that interaction during the session. So Kyle, what do we have next on here?
Let's see, I'm going to take us through what is relationship intelligence. So as you can see, everyone, it's good to get on the same page of what we're talking about. So this tool was created over 51 years ago, just to help us understand how we can be more effective in our relationships. And so we want to get on the same page of what are relationships. So in our view, relationships are always connections that are built on a foundation of shared experiences, but also future expectations. And what we mean by that is every relationship has a past, present, and a future. And when we think about the past, we have these experiences with people. And if those experiences go really well, it sets us up with a positive mindset in terms of how we see and work with people in the present. But if they don't go as well, right, that might actually give us a negative view of how we see and interact with people. And so we want to be able to kind of have better information so that we can recast that past. If we get some better insights into why we were doing what we did or why someone else was doing something, that can set us up in the present to really have better outcomes. And that speaks a lot to the future, because it's in the present that we make choices to create a great outcome in the future. We all have hopes and expectations of how we'd like things to work out. Again, whether that's personal life or at work. And so we want to be able to master the moment currently, and relationship intelligence is what can help us do that. And you can see here that definition for RQ is insights for adjusting our approach and making all of our interactions more effective. And I think I like to look at it just with this idea that if I have better information, I can be more intentional to create better outcomes. So we're going to dive into today then kind of what are these parts of relationship intelligence? How can this information help me with the people in my life?
Yeah, so the assessment that we leverage at Core Strengths, we call it the Strengths Deployment Inventory, the SDI 2.0. And we'll give you a link to be able to take that assessment and experience it and get all the tools that we'll share with you in just a few moments. It's this assessment, the SDI 2.0, it shares 4 views of a person. And in that, we look at our personality first and then our behaviors. So as we unpack this, we will share afterwards 3 white papers to help you understand more about it. We're not going to dive into the methodology and the meaning and the history of it. It is a validated tool. And so we'll have a white paper that shares the methodology and meaning of the SDI 2.0, which assessments really make a difference, different assessments for different purposes, as well as the history and development of the SDI. And so in the 4 views of a person, the first view, we look at our motives, how we lead when things are going well. And then the second view that we look at is how we lead on it when in conflict. Our motivations change when we are in conflict and are stressed, frustrated, when things aren't going our way. That's the personality side of the assessment. We look at, and when we talk about personality, we're really looking at our motives. And then the second half of the assessment, we look at our behaviors at work, our productive strengths, the behaviors that we use to solve problems, to make things work, to connect with people, most often in a productive way. And then our overdone strengths, AKA some might call them weaknesses. And in those overdone strengths, that's when we turn up the intensity a bit too much, and we might actually be getting in the way of what we're trying to accomplish. And this spells that out in a very effective manner to help us actually grow and improve our leadership development. And so that's the 4 views of a person. The first 2 with our personality, motives when things are good and when they're not. And the second, our behaviors, our productive strengths, and our overdone strengths. And so that's what we're going to look at as we try and implement and understand this model of relationship intelligence, of how to recast the past, how to master the moment, and co-create a better future. And so in that, there are some core motives that really play out throughout the world. And this is an assessment, a tool, a methodology that fits every country that we're in, because we're all just people. And so there are 3 motives when things are going well. And we represent those 3 motives with 3 colors, blue, red, and green. It's really important to remember that everyone has a blend of all 3 motives. When you take this assessment, if you are in the red area or the green or the blue, or it doesn't mean you're all of one. Everyone's a blend of. And so the blue, though, represents what's front of mind there, what's top of mind. And that's a drive to help others. It's about people. And so people in that blue area, when making decisions, are typically thinking about How's this going to impact a team? How's this going to impact a team member? How's this going to impact a person? They're people oriented, a drive to help others. And the red is a drive for performance. And they're really thinking about how to achieve results. What are we trying to accomplish? What's the goal? What's the vision? What's the hill that we're trying to tackle? They're thinking about where are we going? What's going to happen? And then the green is about process. And they have a drive to establish order. They really enjoy bringing order to a mess. They enjoy knowing how something is going to work. And so we all are a blend of people, performance, and process. However, depending on where we land on this, on the SDI 2.0, helps us to understand a little bit more about ourselves, as well as a little bit more about others. Kyle's going to show us the model of this on a triangle and how we illustrate this that you'll see once you complete the tool.
Yeah, so once you take the assessment, what you would find is there's 10 questions, 10 statements that have 3 different endings. And so what it's looking for is your scoring is just to see kind of what is your unique blend of those 3 motivations. You can essentially on this triangle see there's 3 kind of scoring categories. And then the intersection then of your scores are going to kind of show up as a dot on the triangle. It's going to create a picture of your motivations when life's going well. What gives you drive? What gives you focus? And what you're noticing is that there are 7 regions. Now, these aren't boxes, like no one's boxed into these. Where you land in a region is incredibly important. But you're going to notice that if one of the motivational scores was higher than the other 2, you might land in the blue, the red, or the green. Kind of just a clear front of mind drive towards people, performance, and process. Some of you, after you take this, you might see that you're a blend of a couple of the motives. And so there's 3 regions that represent kind of those 2 motive blends, red, green, and blue, green. And just to kind of give one example, you can see, for instance, in red, blue, it's really going to be a drive where people are wanting to help a person or a group of people succeed. It truly is that blue with the red, for instance. Some of you then might actually score all 3 motives about equal that Mike was describing, and you'd land in the middle here. We call that the hub. And in that area of the triangle, there's this kind of unique expression of motivation around collaboration as a drive and flexibility, for instance. But just to point out that a dot on any part of this triangle can be a great CEO, educator, trainer, coach, whatever it might be. This is just helping you understand what's the motivation underneath the surface, kind of what's driving that person to do what they do. So a dot anywhere on the triangle is not talking about skills and talents. Again, it's talking about motives and drivers. What's giving that person focus? Now, what we're going to do, though, is we want to also show you when you take the assessment, you'll be creating an account on what we call the platform, but you can just think of it as your core strengths account. Now, this is a demo account, so it's just going to say core strengths at the top. When you take it, of course, you might name it kind of part of your organization. You might name it your own name. That's up to you. But you'll be able to now see your results here online. Now, Discover is going to be a tab that'll be important for you because it's all about you. When you're logged into your account, Discover is where you're going to be able to see your results kind of in this subcategories. This first page, I'm going to see just a general overview of all of my results. But because we're talking about life going well, I'm going to jump straight to Discover and motives. And what you're going to see here again is how I scored when I was considering those 10 statements about life going well. And I clearly am a blend of all 3 motives, like Michael mentioned earlier, but front of mind for me is that red performance drive. That's what kind of comes in first in terms of giving me focus and energy. And it's just going to be helpful, again, is just to see how you can use this information. I'm going to see some descriptions about this. And I will say, historically, before I took this tool, if someone had asked me why I did what I did, I probably would have said something like, I don't know, I'm just kind of wired this way. I didn't have a very good vocabulary around it. But you can see here, this is offering me kind of a new way of describing things, right? That I really succeed in a world where opportunities are constantly being discovered and where challenges are revealed so they can be overcome, right? I want to rise to positions. For me, a missed opportunity equals failure. Like, it may not get everything right? We're not pretending that, but it is recognizable to me as someone in that red part of the triangle of, oh yeah, like this does make sense in terms of why I do what I do. So we're going to want you to kind of explore your own results, again, once you take the opportunity for the tool. But we also want you to explore some other things, because today is really about learning how to increase our fluency in relationship intelligence. And so in all of your accounts, when you click compare, you're going to get an opportunity to see kind of demo people, but from other parts of that triangle, because in some ways it helps you learn that language of another motive, if you will. There's kind of this cognitive diversity, right, in terms of how people take information to make decisions, how they prioritize things. And we're learning kind of those motivational languages when we explore compare. Now, some of you may land in that middle section, the hub. So I'm going to use fake Susan here as an example to show you how to use this information. But when I click on compare, and specifically when I click on tips, this is designed to kind of shorten my learning so I'm effective faster with different people. It's almost as if I've learned how to grow up speaking red and I'm learning the second language. And like we'd learn any other language, if we go to another country, we're probably going to bring some kind of tool or app to be effective, but also to show respect. And to me, that's what this is trying to offer you. So someone that's in the hub, if I'm having a meeting with them, I might need to know to share the main topics to see who's coming to that meeting and who might need to be included in the meeting. See if there's new information to bring that is relevant to the meeting and who might need to be informed of outcomes of the meeting. These are things that are important to someone in that middle section of that triangle. Now you're going to see for me as a red, though, I have different things that are important when I think of meetings. I'd like to have an agenda with desired outcomes and time limits. Don't waste my time. Clearly state the purpose, goals, and outcomes. Keep things moving. Don't let things drag, etc. But again, there's a lot of categories under tips, everyone, I want to point out. I'm going to get tips on how to write a better email to people in different parts of that triangle. And all of this is designed, again, to help me be effective faster with the different types of people that I'm connecting with. And so we're going to want you just to see this so that you can start exploring this again when you get your own accounts. Now, Michael, we're talking a little bit about life going well. Yeah. I know we're going to transition shortly into life not going well. Let me just show real quick and demonstrate the team function, because obviously we're talking about individual results at this point, and you're going to be seeing your own results when you take this. But just to point out, you have opportunities to see group views. If this ever were to turn into something where you are sharing this with others that you connect with, you can pull people together to see what motivates them. Again, remembering blue people, red performance, green process. This can just give you some insights about what is motivating people that you connect with. And there's kind of a clear thing missing here, Michael, on this group at least. But this helps people understand what is not front of mind for this group. And what would that be, Michael?
I think what's not front of mind is process. And what I love is in groups like this, there's always someone that says, I'm process oriented. But then you throw someone green in the mix, and then you have what I would call a real process. But yeah, that process piece, that how's this going to work, the project management tool being leveraged to its full capacity probably isn't happening in this group without that green. It's just not something that's highly valued in terms of how they work and achieve results. It doesn't mean they don't get work done, though.
Exactly. And so the beauty of the tool, everyone, is you're noticing here, again, I mentioned that the dots don't talk about skills and talents. It's just about motivation. So this team, by not having someone clearly around process, they might not always finish what they start. They might repeat some same mistakes here and there. But to Michael's point, the folks on this team could lean into their green because we're all a unique blend. It's just not front of mind for this team. And so that's good for them to be aware of. Not that they have to go hire a green to be effective. They could still get some great work done. They just might need to be a little more intentional about the pieces that are kind of missing. And I think that's part of the beauty of the tool is we have this kind of flexible approach to being aligned. And this brings that to a visual kind of understanding of what is quote unquote missing. What were you going to say, Michael?
Well, I feel like you pulled up one of my teams, and so I'm having these moments. And, so Kyle and I are both in that red area. And different teams that I've worked with, I have some in the hub and in that blue. And so you're looking at someone who thinks and processes very differently on the map. So this tool's been very helpful because I'll pull up a team map and I'll say, okay, I'm going into this meeting. how do I set the agenda to make sure I value the blues? Because my normal language, my red language, doesn't always bring out the best of the people I have the opportunity to work with. Sometimes they look at me and they're like, "What's wrong with Michael?" Well, I'm thinking about the goals of the task, and I really need to make sure they understand the heart behind that. I do have blue in me, and bring that out. And in that middle area, what's been very helpful is to recognize, because they score in that middle area, they usually highly value collaboration and consensus. Well, Kyle and I both might know that we're right or what we want to do, but that's going to devalue the
we
the
think
blue.
we're right.
Well, we think that we're right, yeah, and when we think that we're right, we it comes across that way, and so we need to make sure we slow down for a minute, and this tool helps with that. And what's nice is what we're looking at right now in those dots, the motivational value system. This is the validated part of the assessment, where someone lands in terms of where they're anchored, where they're rooted. It doesn't really shift. So I know I'm speaking the language of my team. This is not just a flippant tool that they took somewhere on a day and it'll change the next day. No, I know this is a target that'll help me value my team, which is very helpful.
Yeah, and I like how you said that, because I mean, that's the idea. Everyone is like just recognizing there is going to be a diversity of motives. And so we want to be able to tap into that, because that can help us do much better work. The quality of our work would improve. And whereas, especially this one is technically me here in 3, I might be moving fast to get some things done. And again, unintentionally forget the impact on people. And so folks in the blue can speak to that. So that, again, the quality of our work can improve as we're brainstorming or actually pulling off a project together. And so we're focusing here first on life going well, but Michael mentioned there's 2 parts of our life that kind of drive what we do. And so our motives can shift when life isn't going well. And what would you want to add to that, Michael, here? Help us understand those shifting motives.
I would just, in my mind, I'm thinking right now, we just took 4 kids and 3 of them are getting COVID tested. And so I'm like, all of a sudden life doesn't go well. Things happen to where we shift. But if you think about it this way, I love the analogy of an anchor and a buoy. And it's what we use to help illustrate this in Core Strengths. And there's that anchor that's set when life is going well. And then there's the buoy, which would be the strengths. And so I see in the chat a message about this, similar to DISC or similar to a strengths quest. What the strengths, the strengths to be represented by the buoy. Those are going to shift based on what we're doing, who we're working with, the role that we're in. But that anchor doesn't change. It doesn't change until we go into conflict. And so picture we go into conflict. Life is stressful. We're anxious. We feel devalued. We're trying to solve a problem that didn't work in our normal state. And so that anchor picks up and moves. And so that's when we are now in conflict. Our motives change in conflict. And what's really important here is to understand, and when things are going well, we are a blend of all 3, like Kyle shared. But when we are in conflict, now our motives work in sequence. And we'll share with you what that looks like. So when you take the assessment and you log in, you can look at your conflict sequence. But here's the shift, and it's a game changer when we're developing ourselves, how we respond in situations, as well as coaching up our teams. And so the blue shifts from a drive to help others to accommodating to preserve harmony. I love it when I coach leaders who are in the blue that are like reds. They're very driven and ambitious oftentimes and confident. And they're like, oh, I don't accommodate. But they do. They just see as the fastest way to solve the problem is to say, yes, Jennifer, let's go your route. They accommodate to preserve harmony. It's a shift in their motivation. And the red shifts from a drive for performance to asserting to solve a problem quickly. This is what I call the vanilla ice style, because it's what I do. There's a problem, I'm gonna solve it. And so I'll assert to solve it right away. There's a problem, we're gonna jump right in to solve that quickly. And I'm not really thinking about the goal as much as just how to get through that challenge. And then the green is about a shift from process to analyzing to get things right. And they'll slow things down. They'll sit back at the table, and before they speak up, they want to make sure they're correct. They know, and they've looked at the information to get it right. And so there's a shift in our motives when we are in conflict. And when we think about the model of relationship intelligence, this is a game changer. because we now can look into the past of relationships that didn't go or are not going as we want them to be. And we can see how we have led from a conflict state and how that's gotten us to where we are, to then figure out how to shift it. And so this is a pivotal part. And this is the part of the assessment that sold me on it 7 years ago, because it helped me see things in myself that I had not seen before, that then was like, oh, I had to write apology letters to people, but because I learned things about my leadership that I didn't know before. So Kyle, let's look at the arrow and the triangle on the motives in conflict and unpack this a bit more.
Yeah, so we talked about the dot kind of represented kind of this intersection of scores when life was going well. And now there's a new shape, an arrowhead, that kind of helps you understand what's important to you. Where do you go first when conflict begins? And in the example on the screen, you can see someone was in this red-blue category when life goes well. Again, trying to help someone succeed, let's say, or a group move forward. But when conflict begins, all of a sudden this new motivation takes over. They're really trying to give more attention to that analyze piece first to get things right. And there's a particular part of the report that I appreciate, and to kind of, I guess, echo Michael, like it was a game changer in that it helped me see other approaches to conflict, right, as equally valid. I think historically, I always thought my approach was the right approach. And once you take this, you'll see a sentence that you have. And what's powerful about it is you can see, even in the example here, it starts the same for many of the approaches. It just finishes different. So if somebody had a blue first accommodate approach, the sentence I think that says a lot is this one: you believe the best way to show you care about a problem and other people, right, is to listen to their concerns and accommodate them if possible. So like we described, what they're trying to do is check in with people. What are you thinking? What are you feeling about this? How is it affecting you? How is it affecting us? That relationship's so important that these folks might accommodate to protect the relationship. Some people have read assert first, and their sentence says they believe the best way to show they care about a problem is to respond immediately before the problem gets worse. So they kind of dive right in to try to solve that thing and get people participating and sharing ideas, because that'll solve things quickly. The other approach then you can see is green analyze, and their sentence would tell them that they believe the best way to show they care, right, about the problem is to give it time and attention it needs so it can be solved correctly, right? They, like Michael mentioned, they kind of step back first to get the facts, to get some logical solutions on the table before we respond and try to solve it, because they don't want to repeat it again. Now, give me some of your thoughts, everyone. I mean, what could be a tension on a team if someone had the red approach and someone else had that green approach? What could add to tension and conflict based on even the sentence that we're seeing on the screen?
You can chat it in or take your mic off mute. What do you all think?
What could add to the tension based on each of their approaches to conflict? Yeah, I like that, Elizabeth. Yeah. Especially that time constraint, like the reds, again, if we didn't have some of this understanding, the red could look at someone that's green first and think, they must not care about this. Look how slow they're going. And the green could be looking at the red thinking, they must not care about this. Look how fast they're going. And there could be a misunderstanding. But I think what I appreciate about this tool is literally what you see someone do during conflict is how they show that this is important to them, is how they show they care. And I think that's a powerful takeaway, because one, it builds a confidence in yourself and what you're trying to do during conflict, maybe with better understanding. But now you're also getting some awareness and insights to what's important to somebody else. And what I like about this tool is this idea of productivity, even in conflict, because if I know what matters to you, then that's an opportunity for me to make things right. And so I like how that can really empower people to handle conflict a lot more constructively, but also effectively. And I guess just to point out, when you're going to end up seeing your own results, you're going to want to go to discover and then click on conflict. And there'll be a deeper dive there where, again, you'll see where your arrowhead is. You'll see some paragraphs describing your approach, and even an opportunity to find statements that really connect with how you're trying to solve problems when you're experiencing that conflict. And it's just to point this out, I guess, those sentences on how you show you care are part of your results. It's always the last sentence of the first paragraph. And so some of you might have even a different sentence than the 3 we used as examples, but you'll see it here. Again, they all start with you believe the best way to show you care about the problem, and then they finish differently, which will be unique to you and your style in conflict. But Michael, I know we've only been talking about kind of the motives, those things that anchor us and drive us under the surface. We should probably start connecting just to what's going on with strengths.
Yeah, let's do it. We've looked at our motives and when things are good and when they're not. Now we need to look at how we show up, how we lead. What are the behaviors that people see? And what I hope that you're connecting the dots on is that it's a very tangible tool on helping us to understand how to connect and truly value the people that we work with. I always say I care about people, but people don't always know that I care about them. And this helped me see why and how to shift that, not only from how I try and solve problems, but then now more specifically how I show up. And so we have our motives when things are good, illustrated by the anchor. And then we have our strength of behavior illustrated by the buoy. There's always a reason why we are doing what we're doing. And that reason is connected to our motive. It is not flippant or random as to why we do what we do. And so we get to show this from our strengths. And so we have what's called a strengths portrait in the SDI 2.0. This is the third view of the assessment. And so if we look at that strengths portrait, we'll have, it's very important. This is another kind of unique aspect of the tool. We're saying we have 28 different relational strengths to choose from to connect with others. Now in that, we have our top strengths, top 3 rows. They're most significant to us. They're how we get results. They're the ones you probably use the most often. And then we have our middle strengths, and those are situational, and you can pull them up sometimes. They're readily available. It's not very uncomfortable to use. You just don't as often. And then we have our bottom strengths, and those bottom strengths might be uncomfortable to use and often avoided, but it doesn't mean that you should avoid them. It's like if you haven't played golf for a while and and all of a sudden you swing the golf club well and it felt uncomfortable. That doesn't mean you shouldn't swing it well the next time. You just learn how to do it more consistently and it becomes better. And so it doesn't mean we don't use our bottom strengths. It might be effective ways to connect with others, 28 different strengths to use to connect with people. And so we hope that as we unpack the strengths portrait and how that works, that when you take your assessment, you start to see, oh yeah, that's what I typically do. But then, if I'm talking with Kyle and he's a red, I wonder if I bring up this strength and I'll speak his language more effectively. And so let's look at a good strengths portrait here.
Well, I don't know if it's a good one, and I'm going to jump ahead, everyone. Well, I guess I'll do a couple things here. And I know Johnny had a question, so let me do that. I'm going to kind of back up a little. So he was asking, maybe some assessments for personality, like it could change based on your mood for the day. What they found with this tool kind of in the 51 years is, in essence, it does mimic our kind of life in that there's 2 aspects to life. There's kind of an aspect that doesn't change much over time. There's this idea that we bring ourselves wherever we go, right? But of course, there's an aspect, and we've probably said things like this, where, oh, I just wish you just saw me at home. I'm kind of different than I am here, or things like that. So there is an aspect that does change. And so this tool, it kind of addresses both of those. Again, the motivations, those things under the surface that are kind of these values that we have, they don't move much over time. It really kind of anchors us. So it is like a metaphorical anchor. But there's something, of course, that moves quite a bit, and maybe even throughout the day, these strengths that we're now talking about. And those would change. I mean, you could take the same strength portrait probably twice in the same day, and it would change because you'd be thinking about something different. Or we will be giving you, I guess, when you take this kind of focus of think of yourself at work when you prioritize strengths. And that's going to really kind of impact how you see and use all of these and quote unquote prioritize them. But if we gave you a strength portrait and said, think of yourself in your whole life or with friends and family or coaching a kid's youth sport team or something, these would move around because they would change based on context, could change on a maturity, experience, etc. So what you're seeing in a strength portrait is there's 28 of these. Michael mentioned that. We all have the same 28 in this tool. And you're noticing some colors attached to them. So in essence, there's 7 strengths per color. And the way the colors break down is that they're kind of connected to motives in some way. So there's 7 blue strengths, kind of people focus, 7 red type performance strengths, green process strengths, and what we'll call hub is kind of this dark gray. It uses the word perspective. I like to use the word partnering strengths. And this is just to help you see what are the types of strengths that I tend to choose and use. So in this case, you're seeing kind of how I prioritize the strengths from most used to least used. But to Michael's point, just because there's ones at the bottom, it doesn't mean I hate those things. It just means on the day I did take this, I thought of other strengths with a higher priority. And like we kind of briefly mentioned earlier, the way to look at a strength portrait, everyone, when we say the word strengths, these are relational strengths. So all of these now are relational tools that can help us connect well with people. And so because of that, I even like to call this 28 ways that I can get things right with people. So all of these words on here are also not about skills and talents. These are really relational words. And so how am I choosing and using these to get the results that I need to be effective? I never have to feel stuck with a few that I might prefer using. I need and want access to all of these. Now, how that comes into play, and I'm going to jump ahead here just to this reasons tab, is let's say, to Michael's point, I'm realizing I'm connecting with someone that seems a bit different from me. Maybe it's someone like fake Amy here, who motivationally is in the blue part of the triangle. Well, I can get some relationship intelligence around that where I can see, yeah, that we're choosing and using strengths a bit differently in terms of priority. But if I'm trying to connect well with fake Amy, I might want to also use supportive because she values that strength. So something I can do is I can click on this diamond to see where I have supportive, which is pretty low, let's be honest. But when I click on it, I can see kind of examples of my motivational reasons to feel authentic using that strength, to feel a little more confident using supportive. It's not always on my radar, it's a bit low, but I give encouragement and help others so others can help me achieve goals. That might be a reason, but the second one especially resonates with me in order for others to achieve the best they can. And that's a motivational reason that I can use a strength that, again, Amy values. So it's another way of helping me connect well and collaborate well with her using relationship intelligence. But again, not in a way that makes me feel like I'm faking it, in a way that helps me feel authentic doing it by connecting with my motivations. And so if you think about that anchor buoy again, it really is designed as you're looking at your own results. When you go to discover, you'll want to click on reasons. You'll know you're in the right place because it shows you kind of this idea of how do I live more connected? And I can start to choose strengths to get new and better results. You know, maybe the energy when I'm leading a conversation or working with a team and using persuasive and forceful and competitive, maybe that's not that effective for certain, right, conversations. But maybe something like flexible or option oriented would be. And so I can try again using a different strength to get a different outcome. So I'm hoping you're seeing how this can really empower people, right, to do things differently. But I will just kind of foreshadow a little here in that another beauty of the tool is when a group of people has taken this together, not only can they each see their individual strengths, but a group can start to see, and this is 4 people, but we can start to see how do we show up with strengths and behaviors that we choose and use. What's the culture of us in some ways? And we can start to determine are strengths helping or hindering us. Maybe as a team, we need to give more attention to analytical to drive some new results. And this helps us align conversations around that so that we can be more effective as a team. And that's another great outcome that can happen taking this assessment. Now, Michael, we've only been talking about productive strengths. I know we need to at least hit on the idea of overdone strengths. And when they all get their results, they're not terrified of their own reports.
For sure.
Let's just look at those.
So our overdone strengths the portrait works similarly to the strengths portrait, where we have our top overdone strengths, where they're well-intended, like we're trying to solve a problem, we're trying to help, but oftentimes they can be ineffective or perceived, we can be perceived one way by someone wired up differently than us. And we have our middle overdone strengths, And with our middle overdone strengths, those are situational. They'll come out sometimes in our work, but not all the time. And you'll see that those can kind of get in the way of our ability to connect with others and be influential. And then our bottom overdone strengths. And here's kind of the shift in the overdone. With the strengths, we're saying, hey, 28 strengths to connect with others, use them. And with the overdone strengths, we're saying at the bottom, you probably don't look like this very often, at least in the state, like at work when you took the assessment, when you take it. You avoid doing those. And oftentimes what's at the bottom of your overdone strengths portrait triggers conflict when others overdo it. And so here's the overdone strengths. And it's really a look at what we might be doing or might be perceived as doing that is getting in the way of our ability to truly connect and let people know we value them and we're trying to work effectively with them. And so let's look at the overdone strengths portrait. What's nice about when you work with Kyle and I is that whenever you look at our overdone strengths portrait, you feel better about yourself. And it's just the way that we serve and help others.
We're givers. We're trying to be. So
yeah.
I'm pulling up again my results because I'm on Discover here. So when you're going to log into yours, you're going to see your results in Discover. And to find the overdone, I'll go a little slower here. I have to click on strengths, and then I have to come down and click on overdone. So it now switches from kind of productive strengths to now the overdone expression of these. And so you'll see, again, what a peach I am on teams. Arrogant, dominating, abrasive, reckless, and ruthless and aggressive. But the idea, everyone, here is not to be terrified of your own results. These are words, especially the ones at the top. The way I would describe this is these are words that others might use about me when they think I'm going too far. And kind of this idea with overdone strengths is we're always trying to use strengths productively. That's kind of like our internal, motivation that's going on. I'm trying to be effective. When it doesn't work, sometimes we're kind of, that should always work. And we try harder. We do more of it, hoping to get a different result. And what do people call that sometimes? Maybe you've heard this. When someone's doing something over and over, hoping to get a different result. Let's see who responds. Who knows what people called that? You can use the chat. You can use the mic on.
There we go, Scott. Elizabeth, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So it is kind of interesting, right? And so that's what this tool, in some ways, it's just kind of highlighting a little bit, right? The things that can get in the way. So when I'm using persuasive, for instance, and I don't get results I would need or expect, I might do more of it, right? I'm overusing, over-relying on it. This describes it as an overdone strength. Abrasive is what that can start to look like to others. Again, that's the word someone else would use. I'm never trying to be abrasive, but again, it could look that way. It's perception. And now that strength becomes ineffective. Now, the beauty of the tool, just trying to help us learn how to manage these, how to stay productive. So if I can catch myself now with some new awareness to these, I can catch that happening. I don't need to feel stuck because we already talked about this idea, and I'll slide back up to click on the productive strengths. I have 28 different ways to do something different. So if that persuasive isn't working, right, that's where I can jump down here, maybe be a little more inclusive, right? Be a little more methodical, try a different approach to get a different outcome. And that can be really empowering, right? And confidence building. Now, to Michael's point, the other part of the overdone portrait, I'm just going to slide down, is the bottom part is pretty significant because this one isn't so much about someone else's perception about me. These words are often how I might judge someone else. It's a trigger for me when I think someone seems blind or gullible. I might think, they're so gullible. And it kind of turns me off, right? Whatever you'll end up with at the bottom of your portrait, it would kind of turn you off. So the opportunity here, though, to stay kind of more productive is I can be a little more curious. Just as I would wish people gave me the benefit of the doubt when I'm kind of using competitive, because I think it energizes things, I need to start offering the benefit of the doubt. When I think someone seems gullible, it helps me be curious to think, okay, what could they be trying to do right now? I want to stay productive with them. So let me pause here before I kind of judge them and label them. Because give me some thoughts, like how easy is it to kind of get rid of a label once you've been labeled or once you've labeled someone else? How easy is it to get rid of that label? Give me some thoughts, either in chat or with your mic on.
I mean, how easy is it to change your personal brand?
Yeah, maybe. But this is the thing, right? It's hard. It is hard. Oh man. And so what this tool, I think in some ways is trying to do is, how do we just, again, kind of remain a little more open and curious to what people might be trying to accomplish? Because it helps us, again, stay more productive and collaborative.
But
now, I'm hoping,
Kyle's-
again, that's just going to give you insights on how to manage and stay productive. So when you take this, again, don't be terrified of your overdone strengths. It's an opportunity, right, to choose and use strengths differently to get different results. What were you going to say, Michael?
Well, yeah, if we go to that reasons tab that you were on, we talked about our overdone strengths and how to shift that. And I like that Jennifer takes contentious intention. And so in the relationship intelligence model, when you recast the past, then maybe you see, wow, with this person, they always see me as abrasive. They always see me as arrogant. They always see me as self-sacrificing. How do I shift that? Because it's impacting my ability to be influential, to be effective, to have a good working relationship with them, whatever it may be. Well, you come to the strengths and reasons tab and you consistently try to bring up a different strength to show up differently. After a consistent time, usually trust builds as they see, wow, it's not negative anymore. They're not like that anymore. They're working hard to connect with me now. We have better interactions now. Now we have a better future. And so it's a way to really live out that relationship intelligence model by choosing to bring up that different strength. And if you are like me, sometimes you might need a little bit more help. That's where you go to that compare feature, like Kyle showed earlier, for specific tips on how to communicate effectively to someone wired up differently than you, all the way to the Outlook plugin that's there to make it super simple when you're connected with people on the tool. It just pops in. It's like a cheat sheet on the fly. And so that's what I was going to say, just that it's that consistent interaction to live out relationship intelligence on a regular basis to improve.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's see, kind of where are we here? We're going to make sure you all beyond those 3 white papers that Michael talked about. There's another kind of thing that we'll share in a follow-up email, which is this together kind of PDF. And it's how to use relationship intelligence to improve. It's really small here, but team culture, one-on-one conversations. It says remote meetings, but let's be honest, this helps in any kind of a meeting, and even how to navigate crisis, right, differently. And you wouldn't have had to have taken the SDI to have this information be helpful. It's just going to give you a lot of questions to help teams navigate some of these challenges effectively. So look for that. I know, Michael, we're going to be sharing the link that they can take the assessment, create their own account. So everyone can look for that as well. And then ultimately, we want to also offer this opportunity for, the possibility of a 45-minute coaching session, complimentary, just to go over your results again after you complete the assessment. So we have a link that we'll share to set up that time. So you could copy that and use it later. You could set something up now. It's totally up to you. But this session really is designed to help you connect with your own results. So just know that that's an opportunity if you think that would be helpful after taking your assessment. And I think I would just share, a couple things about this platform just to point out. One is, once you are logged in, if you had a first language that might be different than English, just know that you can, right, even switch languages on this platform. And it happens essentially, instantaneously. And that would include even things like videos and whatever is
Tus
playing.
resultados del SDI son una sola de una cantidad.
So just so you know, that's going to be kind of an interesting opportunity. The other thing I'll point out is you'll notice you can even download an app on either the App Store or Google Play. And let me just see, just what's cool about the app is, one, you're going to see your own results. So just to show that this is live and this is real, right? I can manage and kind of coach myself here. I can click the compass at the bottom though and get some insights about other types. Again, I can increase my own relationship intelligence, if you will, the fluency, to connect maybe with greens a little more intentionally. And I'm going to see how to recognize some of those characteristics. They're often clear, concise, unemotional in their communication with even voice tones. So different than us, Michael. And I'm going to get some tips right here on my phone. So you can imagine how helpful that can be. So that's a free app. Again, once you've completed the assessment, the same login would get you your information on your phone. So we wanted to point out those opportunities. And then lastly, I guess just ultimately wanted to just thank you for including us today. I know we've reserved some time for other questions and answers, but we do really find it a privilege to be able to connect with you in this way and offer you this tool that you can all take advantage of as well.
Well, thank you guys. My gosh, this goes by so quickly, right? I mean, some amazing, amazing takeaways, you guys. I mean, very powerful and really, I think, enables all of us to have some inner reflection. And again, I love the fact, I mean, this is a wonderful tool. Again, it's not boxed, but it really gives you an opportunity to really reflect on you and others. So excellent stuff.
That's awesome. Thank you.
I captured some questions from the group that I think we can expand on, or if you guys can even, take yourselves off mic and we can maybe begin that conversation with the time allocation. I think right now, timekeeper, I think we're doing okay with time, right? So one of the questions that came up was, will they get copies of the slides for this presentation, gentlemen?
We do not share copies of the slides. However, once I have that link, free SDI 2.0 assessment link in the chat, once you take the assessment, pretty much all the information and more is on the account that you get. The slides were just a way for us to talk about those 3 core motives. All of that is in the account. So it's really, you'll have it on your computer, on your desktop, you'll have it on your phone. And
that is so awesome.
And you'll have that.
I was going to say,
it doesn't go away.
Wherever I put that. Yeah, but this whole platform, you'll notice, I mean, there's just a ton of great information about your results. There's videos that are included to help you connect with your results. And then you're going to be able to have the compare in the teams as well. So you'll have a lot more exploration here than the probably 5 or so slides, 6 slides that we were showing that weren't this, if that makes sense. So
I will say that link will probably only be open for another 24 hours or so. And so I would go ahead and, if you want to schedule a coaching session to learn more about it, to dive a bit deeper, since you hadn't taken it yet, maybe schedule that after you complete it, but definitely complete that in the next day or so. It'll take you 15 to 25 minutes to knock out. And it'll be good.
No, thank you for that. No, that's awesome. And what a great gift that is. I think everyone that attended, I think, will agree with that. So no, thank you for that. So there was another question that came up. Have you ever compared this system with Strengths Quest?
I have not compared it directly to
Strengths Quest. Yeah, unfortunately, I have not.
Okay, and then
I can't speak to that. Yeah, sorry.
No, and I believe Made by Department who asked that. Did you want to expand on that a little bit more, or are you good?
I mean, I would say, often Strength Quest, I think it's connected-ish to Clifton Strengths or Gallup Strengths.
Okay.
And often, that view of strengths, which is totally great, but just a different view of strengths is that they're kind of talents. And so if you can focus on a few that you're talented in, you're going to feel great, right, about what you're doing. Whereas with this tool, again, just the framework of how you see these strengths is that these are relational strengths. And so rather than just focus on a few, it's saying, no, have an expanded view of these 28 strengths. So you can kind of intentionally use that relational strength that's going to get you a great result with people. So it's just a different view of strengths.
It kind of layers it of if your strengths, if it's Strengths Finders is like Woo or Maximizer, well, I still need a relational strength to be able to implement kind of that competency in terms of how I show up to leverage that. So it's definitely a different way to think about it. There's another layer to it.
Great point. No, makes good sense. And then there was another question. I think Elizabeth had mentioned, I wonder how this applies when layered with the various layers of diversity, something to ponder. Did you want to talk a little bit more about that, Elizabeth? And then we can weigh in.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hello, good morning, y'all. I was just, when you were going over some of the overdone strengths, it really resonated with me. These are some things sometimes things I hear as a woman, or some things I might hear as a Latina. And I was just wondering, how does that layer in? Does this look like it's even resonates even more, grows even more, or look, how does that layer in when we take in different layers of diversity that come into play when we look at both our strengths and our overdone strengths?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I think what's interesting is because sometimes I'll explore that with teams or even individuals, right? Especially like if we were to look at the anchor buoy, is this idea that we'll see these behaviors or strengths at the surface of people, right? And generally what's happening is we actually make stories and judgments around those without ever really understanding, right, the important parts under the surface for a person. And so to your point, if you think about areas that we might make stories about, it could be about how someone dresses, how old they are, right? Race, how they talk. Like there's so many different layers. Gender, of course, like that you're bringing up. And so I think those are really important areas to explore with individuals and teams. And explore why. Yeah, because potentially, even if I were to look at productive strengths, I might totally appreciate the fact that I enjoy using persuasive and forceful and persevering. But to your point, right? Sometimes if I see women leading that way, maybe I have a different view of that. So I need to start exploring, well, why do I have a different view of that? And how does that impact how I work with that person? And so this really can open a lot of different ways to see how bias can get in the way of how teams are seeing and working with each other, so that we can hopefully overcome those to be more effective. So to your point, yeah, I think those are great layers to bring in to this training. And I think ultimately what I like about this tool is it gives us a common language to now explore those things. And I think that's part of how it empowers teams to show up and do things differently because of that now commonness. We can start to get some understanding about what we mean by persuasive. And maybe I'm struck for the first time that, yeah, I do see people that are different than me using persuasive, and it bugs me. Oh my goodness, why is that? And again, it can help us, right, choose and use things differently to get different results moving forward. Would you add anything to that, Michael?
No, you nailed it. Just to make sure you hear the wisdom of what Kyle shared, the common language, I would say a non-conflictive common language that helps people to talk about things and address things in a way that is different and to then dive deep, which has been very helpful, especially in things that you're talking about, Elizabeth.
Yeah, it's really powerful.
Yeah. Very, very good. No, good. I mean, good conversation, good dialogue. It really makes you think, right? It does. And then I think Kyle, you answered it beautifully. Johnny's question earlier, and Johnny, I just wanted to make sure and circle back with you to ensure that all made sense. It was the one about sometimes, with the personalized assessments, they can be a snapshot, but it can change depending on your mood of that day. And then do you find that true of the assessment, or is it a one and done and it doesn't really change? And I think, Kyle, you really addressed that, but I wanted to circle back with Johnny to see if you wanted to add anything to that.
No, that's essentially it. I know that, when people are looking at these assessments and they're deciding what to put, like right now I'm looking at the first question of SDI, and it says like, I enjoy things most when I am. It's like helping others do what they want to do, getting others to do what I want to do. And so for me, it's more like, in this moment, am I really focused on being mindful of all of my past experiences, or is there something maybe that I'm emotionally attached to that's going to give me a bias in my answer? And I know that's going to vary person by person, and depending on how introspective you are and how aware you are of these thoughts and feelings, quite frankly, but that's basically what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think that's what's been unique about this tool compared to others. As you get past question one and then get frustrated with some of the others that depending on how you're wired up will determine if you do. That's the validated piece on kind of the points of that black dot, that motivational value system, 5 to 7 points, which is because you're looking at your motives versus the behavior. And so it does, we'll see once you take it and if you jump onto a coaching session or reach out to us on LinkedIn, that to see if it resonates, if it rings true.
Because what they've found over time, Johnny, is, it's literally up to between 95 and 96% of the people that take this do connect with their results. Now, of course, it may not be every single sentence is the same or resonate, right? But they recognize themselves in their results. And I'm even certified in some tools that, I was even instructed in certification, hey, up to 30% of the people may not be connecting with this right after they take it, kind of thing. And so I think that's interesting about this tool is that people really do feel connected to it. And I like that there's a simplicity to it. Like we're really trying to help people learn how to connect, right? What they do with why it's so important to them. And so I think what you'll find is it's probably more accurate than you would have expected from even just 10 questions about life going well and 10 about conflict. That's what I'm hoping your experience would be. But I mean, I think the simplicity part of it makes it also a useful tool then. And you'll see that how the reports are written, it really is in a way to kind of set you up for success. And what I appreciate about who started this, 51 years ago, this guy named Dr. Elias Porter, there's this quote that he says that this assessment is for you. It's not just about you. And I think that's an important takeaway, that any tool is valid that's helping you connect and, to your point, be introspective and aware and to consider others differently, which is what this tool is trying to do. How can this not just improve your own awareness, but set you up for success as you connect with other people? This is for you. It's not just a tool, right, about you. So hopefully that kind of gives some other context.
Gosh, I love that. I love the way you said that. I mean, it's so true, right? I mean, it really hits you in terms when you say it that way.
Yeah.
So true. I think I captured everything within the chat box. Please, guys, keep me honest. Are there any other questions that you're just, while we have these gentlemen, both Michael and Kyle, with us, which, we can't thank you enough for you guys taking that time to be with us today. Are there any other questions that you guys would like to ask, having seen this and experienced it as we move forward? I think we're good. Any other words of wisdom, gentlemen, for us?
Oh, thank you. Thanks for including us again. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Well, hey, this has been a treat.
Thank you.
And let's give these gentlemen, both Michael and Kyle, a huge, gigantic round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. It's been really wonderful session. I mean, I personally gained a lot, and I believe, all the attendees gained a lot as well. We would record the session and make available to all those who are not able to attend. But yeah, excellent presentation, guys.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
the links are in the chat. Enjoy the assessment, enjoy your free coaching session, and have a great conference in October.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Janine, yeah, if you could just speak to, the attendees who are still in the room before they leave, just let them know.
Yes, please, you guys. So right now, we had to do a little bit of a postponement for our annual conference, our weekend in learning and development, also known as WILD. We do have some keynote speakers that are lined up. It's definitely going to be something that you're going to want to, definitely walk away with and go, whoa, I'm really glad I attended. So I highly encourage, we've got some board members that are on in this webinar today as well. I definitely would, encourage you guys to check it out, to register. And we're absolutely hoping that we get the attendance numbers so that we can, be able to have this session in October, 5th through the 8th. Would anyone else like to add from the board? I think I see you, Heidi, and Liz, and Zizo as well.
Yes, so the conference, like Janine mentioned, we had to push it from July to October because there was low registrations, but we're hoping that, more people will register. We have, great speakers. We have Niels Floors, who's a learning experience design guru, coming in all the way from the Netherlands. We have someone speaking on DE&I. We have, a host of speakers. So please, if you haven't visited the WILD website, please take time to go to the WILD website and check it out. There's a lot of information there. And, register if you can.
We also have volunteering opportunities for our members that attended this workshop. So if you're interested in learning more about that, please just send me an email to memberservices@atdcfl.org.
Thank you, Heidi. Appreciate that. Anyone else? And of course, we're always going, public service announcement, volunteers. Each of you, and I know some of you personally on this call from past careers in my lifetime, we definitely encourage the volunteering. Would love to have you guys come out and volunteer. And it's so rewarding. We get to meet dynamic individuals, as you can see, with both Michael and Kyle as well. So that's the best gift ever, to be able to have that relationship building and to be able to really collaborate with one another. So we always welcome any of you with the talents that you can bring to the table to be volunteers with us. All righty. I guess we call it a wrap. Is this a wrap?
Yes, it is.
Until next time, never goodbye. Always see you later. So again, Michael and Kyle, thank you again for taking the time and sharing your expertise with each of us. Truly that you made our day, our week, our month, and we're so grateful to be able to work with you guys. So thank you for that.
Hey, you're welcome. Thanks.
Take
All right,
care.
guys. Thank you so much, Michael and Kyle. You guys did a great job. We are really appreciative, and we'll stay in touch.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And don't forget those assessments. I'm on mine immediately.
Good.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for attending.